Hello, everybody. This is Chris Gomez here. We'll shortly be starting the broadcast, but we're just waiting for another couple of minutes for a few more people to join. So hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to this series of webinars that focuses on delivering and updating you on the new features and functionality that will be available to you and your organization in Oracle's latest release, 20D. My name is Chris Gomez, and I'm an account director here at Evosys. My focus is on demonstrating the value that our next generation managed services, as well as some of the other innovative Evosys technologies, has on achieving maximum business value on your Oracle cloud applications. As we know, Oracle provide quarterly updates that are designed to continually drive operational excellence and enhance the user experience. But today, I'm your host for this webinar, where I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague, Utsav Ravel, who works in our ERP Center of Excellence team and will be taking us through the finance updates in 20D. Utsav has over 10 years experience in Oracle EBS and cloud financials and has played multiple roles within Evosys, ranging from consultant through to solution architect and now in our Center of Excellence. Utsav will be taking you through the hot topics and everything you need to know about the main features of this release. Whilst we'll try to cover as much as we can during this webinar, we'll not be able to cover every single feature. So we'll make an extended PowerPoint available to you at the end of this session that covers more of those features. I'm just going to turn my camera off now to give the... Okay, so by means of an agenda, over the next 50 minutes, we'd like to cover three main areas. So firstly, I'd like to talk a little bit about our approach to Oracle updates before handing over to Utsav, who will analyze the latest release, providing an insight into the new available features, as well as highlighting things to consider when deploying them. This also covers known issues that need to be considered as well. So Utsav will talk you through these in around 30 to 35 minutes before I take you through our next generation managed services and how it can help you with these Oracle releases. We will leave some time at the end to cover questions, but please do ask any questions throughout the webinar. There's a chat facility in the webinar solution where we've got a team of colleagues who will respond to each question as we progress through the webinar. Firstly, when we talk about an update, there are generally four categories of events that we must consider prior to deployment. So firstly comes the analysis. So when we need to analyze and consider each of the points that are available and options are available and rolled out and have a think about the impact that they have on user experience and productivity. Secondly, we must analyze and plan how we deploy the updates that we've decided on as part of the analysis phase, whilst carrying out some of those impact analysis that we need to do on the business before deploying these updates. After planning comes everybody's favorite part in the new releases, and that's the user acceptance testing to ensure that there are no fundamental impacts to the business once the features are deployed. So this is the most intensive stage in this four-stage process and needs to be done methodically to ensure that there are no surprises. And finally, it's about launching the release once you're happy that the tests have uncovered no showstoppers or serious headaches. So once I hand over to Utsav, his focus will be on supporting the first stage of this process, and later I will talk a little bit about how we can potentially help you with these other three areas. So I just want to spend a couple of minutes now taking you through the structure of the new features slides. Some of you may already be familiar with this from previous quarterly updates and webinars that we've provided, but please use this as a reminder whilst I take those that are new to these webinars through the areas. So firstly, at the very top, we include what the new release actually is. Below is then a short description of what the release is, but in a bit more detail to give you a bit of a brief of what that feature is for. We then include a business benefit section so you can see the impact it may have on your organization with the outcomes it could give you. Then on the right-hand side here, we include a high-level impact analysis with 4 main areas. So firstly, the impact level provides you with a gauge of how it could affect your organization and the subsequent amount of effort required for UAT. A low would mean no large-scale impact, so regression testing is not really required or can be ignored. And obviously, a high impact is the complete opposite. We then inform you whether the update will just appear or whether you need to actually enable it to benefit from it. Does the update require any configuration? We highlight this too as part of the feature summary. And clearly, an update that needs configuration needs more planning, and we need to gauge the level of configuration that's actually required. And we also finally have a quick win gauge, which takes into account the level of effort and time required to actually get this feature set up. Okay, so before I hand over to Utsav, one of the things that we always look at is understanding from our customers and Oracle Cloud users how they perceive these Oracle quarterly updates. So hopefully you'll be able to see on your screen now just a short question, and if I could ask each of the attendees and our guests that joined us today to give us their view. Do you see Oracle's quarterly updates as an overhead, or actually do you see them as a value add? I'm just going to wait for a few more seconds to give everyone an opportunity to actually respond. Great. So I'm just going to close off the poll now. I'm going to share the results with you. So the results are in, and I can see that many of you actually said that you see it as a value add, which is good to see. But for those of you that feel it's a bit of an overhead, stay tuned. So when I take you through some of the things that we can actually offer, it may be actually beneficial to you. So going back to our slides now. So I think everyone is obviously here to hear you take us through the updates and the features in 20D. So could you just take control and tell us what to expect?
Sure, Chris. Thank you, and warm welcome to everyone. So let's crack on to this subject. And so yes, let's first see that what are the summary of 20D features which are coming in. So in all, there are around 16 business impactful features which are coming in a 20D release, out of which I think we have done the analysis and we feel that there are around 9 such features which are actually a quick win and do not require any configuration. There is just one feature which is a quick win and a bit of configuration is required. There is another one, a quick win feature. You just need to enable it and you can start using it. But there are also a quite amount of new features which are coming in, which are not actually a quick win, but from a business standpoint, we have done the analysis and we feel that it's going to be a business impactful. So in my upcoming slide, we'll see those features. So now let's see which are quick win and which are a default and do not require any configuration. Okay, so to start with, I'm sure many of us are using the budgetary control feature in our procure to pay cycle. Recently, many users have raised the complaint that the budget inquiry page was not user friendly and you are not able to save your search criterias, and every time business user have to re-enter the search criterias. Now in 20D, Oracle has brought a feature where you can now actually save your search criterias, and on top of it, previously this total bar was missing, and people were not able to see the total of the search which they are doing it, and when they actually export into the Excel, they have to do some Excel calculation and all. So now in this feature, they have also bringing the total so that you can see that what is the total budget, what is the total consumption, and how much fund is available. So from our impact analysis point of view, the impact level is low. The reason is it's a quick win and do not require any detailed regression testing. It's come by default, no configuration required to start using this particular feature, and yes, it's a quick win. Moving to next. Yes, this is again an interesting feature which is coming in. So many of us are using a period close dashboard every month end, and many of us are familiar with the payables to ledger reconciliation report. But there was a bit of limitation. When you run this report, you actually see the variance, but it does not allow you to drill down and see what all points are causing the issue. So now with this upgrade, you can actually now drill down into the variance and see that what all issues are there which is causing a trouble in reconciling your payables with the ledger. So previously you have to do those identification manually, but now as you can see, there is a screenshot available which tells you that which all invoice number are let's say why it is not getting transferred to GL because of this invoices are not validated, what is the invoice amount, what is the ledger amount, and you can do those investigation and then try to resolve those issues. So from our impact point of view, again, it's a low impact, not much regression testing required, no enablement is required, it's no configuration is required, it's a quick win. Moving to next. Uh, uh, in the expense module, again, the even in 20C also, many of us have witnessed that there are a lot of new feature have came in the expense module, and the journey continues even in the 20D also. So in 20D also, Oracle has brought many new features in the expense, and the one of is the delegate the assignments for your inactive employees. So many of us are facing a challenge that when the employees leave the organization, there are certain expenses which are yet to be claimed and processed, and you inactive those employees, and then your expense admin have to perform all those activities. So now you can actually delegate those activities to another employee or the subordinate to run those expenses and then process them. So this delegation feature, it's an exciting feature which is coming in, and from our impact point of view, not much regression testing is required. It's a simple feature where you have to just nominate the delegates, and you start using it. And it's a quick win. Moving to next. Again, yeah, many of us have implemented the expense module, and many of the employees are raising the expenses through the mobile devices which are supported through Android or iOS. So this particular feature which is coming in is related to the Android version right now. So currently Oracle has started in building the the validation on the mobile devices, that when anyone raise the expenses related to the meals or accommodation, now you can enforce your corporate policies through the mobile devices, which was missing previously. And once the expense get raised into the system, and then those validation runs, and which is not a quite helpful process, and it was cumbersome. But now those validations are in place on the mobile device, but currently limited to the Android application. And I'm hopeful that it will come on the iOS version as well in the coming releases. So from our impact point of view, again, it's a low impact. If the expense module is implemented, everybody are using the mobile devices, then I think it do not require any major testing. There is no enablement required, no configuration is required. It's a quick win for us. Moving to next. Again, this is also a very interesting feature which was missing previously. So a couple of releases back, Oracle has brought a feature of you can authorize your spends well in advance when the employee is raising the expenses. So now with this, let's say someone is traveling for a business trip, and you have authorized $1,000 in advance, and when they return back, and when you have actually authorized $1,000, and if the budgetary controls are enabled, those fund get reserved from your budget. And let's say when the person return from the business trip, the let's say they have just used the $800, then for $200 currently there is no way to release the fund, and someone has to go and do the manual adjustment. But now you can actually release the fund for your unused spend, and that fund can be used for your other expenses. So again, this is a very helpful feature which was missing previously, and now it is coming in 20D. From our impact analysis point of view, the impact level is low again, because not much regression testing is required, not much enablement is required, not much configuration is required, and it's a quick win. Moving to next, again, yeah, the journey continues even in the expense module. So even in 20D also, a lot of new features are coming in the expense module. One of this is, many of us again using the mobile application to raise your expenses. And if we have also implemented the project budgeting or project billing, project costing modules, and you can now actually, raise your expenses and link your expenses with your project task and the project assignments. So previously, this particular feature was missing on the mobile devices, but it was available on the web version of your expenses, but it was missing on the mobile version. But now it is coming in the mobile version. So when the person is actually raising the expenses and he want to search the project, this kind of a sample screen that person would be seeing on that mobile devices with the list of the projects which they have used, last 5 used projects, or the projects which are assigned to that employee, or the project which is assigned to the business unit to which that employee is linked to. So the different options are available based on which the employee can see their projects, and by selecting that project, that user can actually raise the expenses related to the task or that to the project. So from our impact point of view, again, the impact level is low, and it's a quick win. Moving to next, I'm sure you guys are raising your queries on the chat, and our team is available to respond your queries. So moving to next again, so again this is coming in the expense module. So recently, many of us are aware that Oracle is bringing the AI inbuilt technology called Oracle Digital Assistants, and this is one of the attempt where Oracle is trying to bridge between the Oracle Digital Assistants with the expense module. So now, with the help of Oracle Digital Assistants, you can raise your expenses related to the mileage, and some of your corporate card charges you can refund using your Oracle Digital Assistants AI. So when you are raising your expenses through the Oracle Digital Assistants, you just have to say that, okay, what was my travel date and how many miles or how many numbers of miles I have traveled, and based on the conversation, the Oracle Digital Assistants would raise the expense on behalf of you. Similarly, let's say when the corporate card statement has been uploaded on the expense module, and when you are matching your expenses with the help of Oracle Digital Assistants, it notifies or it alerts to the employee saying that how many expenses got matched and how many expenses are actually not got matched, and maybe employee has to go and do the related matching. So this is one of a good attempt by Oracle to bring a bridge between the Oracle Digital Assistants with your routine business processes. And from our impact analysis point of view, again, the impact level is low. Considering the fact that you have already implemented the Oracle Digital Assistants and the expense module is again implemented, and if those conditions are set, then I think you can start using this Oracle Digital Assistants on your expense module. And from our standpoint, again, it's a quick win. Moving to next, many of us is aware that joint venture management has been introduced couple of versions back, and it has been improved further on the 20D. In this version, Oracle is allowing now to make some retrospective adjustments, so that if there any dispute between, or if there is any disagreement between the joint venture partners, those shares can be adjusted, and based on the adjustment, Oracle will automatically create the AR credit memos or credit memo in the accounts payable. So this helps to do, bring certain adjustments more constructively rather than doing the adjustment directly into a GL. You can actually now route your adjustment through a joint venture a module straight away. So from our impact point of view, again, the impact level is low, provided you have implemented a joint venture module. Then this is easy to go now, and it's a quick win. Moving to next, again, so again, this is a new feature coming in a joint venture where previously there was no dashboard available to a joint venture manager to see the transactions, like how many joint ventures are unapproved, how many are active and inactive transactions which are pending to process. But now with this dashboard, the managers can now see, then they can get the 360-degree kind of a view on how the transactions are happening within the joint ventures. From our impact point of view, again, impact analysis says that our impact level or the regression testing is not much required because it's an inbuilt feature. The dashboard is inbuilt within the application under the 20D upgrade. Not much enablement is required, not much configuration is required, and yeah, it's a quick win. So these were the quick wins which are easy to go. Now we will see which are the quick wins features which just require some bit of configuration. Okay, so let's see this. Many of us are using our logbox feature of accounts receivable to process the customer receipts, and many of us are using this as a process of building the integration between the bank or between the third party to the accounts receivable module. So far, when you were processing your lockbox and ultimately those receipts were going into a cash management for reconciliation, previously you were just having, just a receipt number as your reconciliation reference. And many of us have raised a point to the Oracle, saying that, there is also a payment reference, which is a part of a lockbox, which should also be considered as a reconciliation matching rule. So previously it was missing, but now with the 20D upgrade, I think we have done that analysis and we feel that this is going to be coming in. And from our impact point of view, we feel that it is going to be a bit of regression testing is required. Why? Because we have to modify our integrations if the integration is through a file base, or if it is a REST API, or it's a web service based integration, then bit of regression testing is required, and bit of configuration is also required in the cash management module to enable the payment reference field as your reconciliation reference. So again, from our impact level point of view, that's impact level is bit high, requires some testing. Configuration is required. You don't need to enable it, it come by default, yes. And it's a quick win still. Why? Because it was a pain previously, but now with bit of regression testing, it is going to be a quick win for the organization. Let's see that feature of a quick win, which is just of a kind of an enable it. So this is a feature. Okay, so there was a bit annoying feature previously that you were able to close GL even there are some of the exceptions lying in your sub modules or the subledgers. But now that validation is coming in, that without if there is any exceptions lying in your sub modules, then you will not able to close your GL period. So it will automatically trigger your period status exceptions. It will also trigger the transaction exceptions, which are unprocessed transactions or untransferred transactions, or which are pending intercompany transactions, or which are transactions which are pending in your GL interface. So previously those validations were missing, but now that validation is coming in for your GL period closure. So from our impact level point of view, the impact level is less because you just have to enable it. Not much configuration is required, and yes, it is a quick win. Now let's also see, which are not a quick win, but from a business point of view, there is a bit of a high impact, and which we feel that many of us would be waiting to see those feature coming in the releases. Yes, so this is a very important feature which is now coming in, and it's going to change the way the people are designing the chart of accounts. Currently, many of us have implemented a cross-validation rules in order to avoid any wrong combination to go into the system. And over the period, the maintenance of those cross-validation rules was also very heavy. And one of the limitation of cross-validation rule was, once the combination is created, it do not actually perform the validation on top of it. So those problems were there and has been highlighted to the Oracle. But now, Oracle is bringing a feature where you can actually create segments which are interrelated to each other. So for example, if someone is selecting a company value 01, then when they go and see a department segment, which is a next segment, they would see only limited values within it. They will not able to see all the values within the department. Similarly, if someone select a department called facility operations, they will able to see only limited accounts within that particular department. So now you can actually set up a relationship between these segments and between the values internally, which would which would avoid you from maintaining a heavy cross validation rules, and it is going to change the way the people are doing a data entry. And many times users are making a mistakes by selecting a wrong combination, and later on you have to do the adjustments at the GL. But now with this feature coming in, I'm sure by setting up the related value sets, this is going to be a quite impactful on the business. From our impact analysis says that it is a high impact because regression testing is required, bit of requirement gathering is required. You have to enable it and you have to configure it, but it's not a quick win. But yeah, from business impact point of view, it is a bit high. Moving to next, journal reconciliation with the value date. So yes, this is also very important feature which is coming in. Many of us are using a reconciliation feature where you are reconciling your journal with your bank statement. And currently, the base of reconciliation was just the reconciliation reference. But now Oracle is bringing a value date also as a part of a reconciliation reference. And hence you have one more layer of reconciliation reference to achieve the automation in the reconciliation. So from our impact level point of view, the impact level is high. Why? Because you have to do bit of configuration, bit of requirement gathering is required. You have to enable it, and it's not a quick win, but yes, from a business point of view, it has an impact. Moving to next, specifically to the UK customers, there was a UK requirement that when you are doing a revaluation, you also want to see some historical values, like what was the historical revalued amount, what was a backlog depreciation amount, what was a backlog of revaluation reserve amount, and all. And currently many of us might have customized those reports currently, but with this new upgrade, Oracle is bringing those column as a part of a seeded report, limited to the asset category change report, asset transfer report, and asset retirement report. So this columns and this amounts are going to be a standard as a part of these reports. From our impact analysis point of view, the impact level is high. Why? Because you have to configure certain accounts, you have to take certain requirement sessions, understand the business logics, and you have to do certain configuration. But from a business impact point of view, it is going to be helpful to the UK customers specifically. Moving to next, joint venture project capitalization and the progress management. So previously, as I mentioned, the joint venture module has been introduced couple of releases back, but now Oracle has brought the relationship between the project module as well. When you are raising the expenses or raising your charges through a joint venture, you can relate it through your project task and your project expenditures. and you can actually now capitalize your expenses which you have incurred through joint venture in the project module. So hence the relationship has been established now between the project module and the joint venture. From our impact point of view, the level is high because bit of configuration is required and you have to enable it, but limited to the customers who are interested in using a joint venture management and their business is related to some joint venture relationships are there. Moving to next, and the last one from my side is the lease accounting. So now you have to, the people who are using the, or the organization which are using the lease feature, which are supported through IFRS 16 standards or ASC 842 standards. Previously the activation part was missing, and there was some validations which were not part of the current lease process, but now Oracle is bringing the lease activation step, which eventually go and see that whether the required information like a renewal option, termination option, schedules, or the present value percentages, all those informations are captured in the lease contract or not. So from our impact point of view, again, the impact level is high because bit of a requirement gathering session might have to do, bit of regression testing is required. From the enable point of view, you have to enable it, you have to configure it. So so with this, I would like to hand it over to back to Chris, who would guide us what steps Evosys is going to follow, help you to transit to 20D upgrade, and what are the other offerings which Evosys provide as a part of next generation support. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you so much. I hope you all found that useful. Just a short reminder before I cover the next area of the agenda, that please do ask away any questions that you may have on its session, so that we can answer them throughout the webinar itself. So again, once again, thanks to Yusuf for the analysis. I'm sure there are things in this release that each of our guests today will look to deploy and benefit from. So just moving on to the next part of the agenda. Earlier we spoke about the 4-step cycle to handling a release, and we've just spent some time analysing some of those features in the finance modules. Once you've finalised your analysis after today, you'll no doubt start planning the rollout with your teams and commence testing. If you are already an Evosys customer and want us to be involved in any of these phases, please do reach out to your project manager or your account director, so that you can actually understand a bit more about how we can help you. And likewise for non-Evosys customers that have joined us today, please do reach out to us to see how we can help with some of the services that we have to offer. From my perspective, one of the most exciting areas is our use of technology that can save you up to 70% of testing time. We all know that the overhead that UAT creates across a business, that this solution that we use runs all the defined processes and captures the screenshots as it progresses through before marking them as successful or failed. So that means that we can then focus on the failed processes and review and resolve any config issues, or if necessary, actually go back to Oracle and alert them of any software-related issues that need to be fixed. And the great thing about this is it's not just about the time saved, it's also about the speed in which the tests can be done and redone to give us more time in that testing phase to make sure that you're ready. So for our guests that answered earlier that they see this as an unnecessary overhead, perhaps some of the testing services that we have to offer may be of interest to you. The other thing to consider is that we can work with you to give you an impact analysis specific to your organization. So whilst we've taken you through the features and potential impact, these impacts will vary from organization to organization. So we can actually work with you to make sure that we fully understand what impact it's going to have on your specific business. So our services go beyond supporting the quarterly updates, and I'm really excited to tell you a little bit about the Evosys Next Generation managed service and what it can do to help you. We're very passionate about driving business value from Oracle Cloud, and that's why our managed service doesn't just focus on keeping the lights on for our customers. It focuses on what we can do to continually improve the outcomes using Oracle Cloud apps. So we very much see our managed service as a partnership to work with you to enhance your Oracle Cloud experience, and not just keeping those lights on, as I've said. And ultimately, what we want to do is we want to get that business value out of this relationship so that our managed services have a number of options that give you the flexibility on those services that we can include for you. Overarching and complementing our managed services is our value-based analytics that are used to measure and monitor the business-defined KPIs that focus the attention on continuous improvement. They're a very, very popular set of analytics that are used throughout our customer base. And there are many areas that the value-based analytics can be used. So, for those of you that aren't already using them, please do contact us to find out a bit more about them. Our next generation managed service is also about empowerment and helping you to drive a lot more self-sufficiency. And some of this is also about leveraging the technology value adds that we use as part of that wider service. And this includes things like responsive digital assistants, for example, to help with self-sufficiency, as well as robotic process automation, or RPA, as we now know it in the industry, to remove some of those repetitive manual tasks. And this opens up then the ability for us to have more focused work on innovation and continuous improvement. So for me, collaboration plays a really important part in innovating. So we continually work together with our customers to drive those innovations. And lastly, it encourages KPI-driven support. Traditional managed services would monitor ticket numbers and length of time taken to close those tickets based on severity. We don't do this. Our KPI-driven approach focuses on giving our customers a good outcome, which ultimately means reducing the number of tickets that are raised to give us more focus elsewhere. So we work not only on resolving the tickets, but also ensuring that the root cause is investigated and resolved to stop further instances from happening. So as I said, it allows us more time to work on the areas that I mentioned earlier, particularly around innovation. But our approach is also about ensuring that we maintain the service level commitments that we set out at the start of the journey with the customer, and continuing to provide that greater value through agreeing on and delivering those outcomes. On the right hand side of the slide that I'm presenting to you is our global current rating. So for every ticket that's raised with our managed service customers, we're really proud of ensuring that the customer rating is high, and it's great to see that our customers are getting consistent service throughout the globe. So as we move towards the end of this webinar now, I'd just like to sort of make some closing remarks before we move on to any Q&A. So in terms of what happens next, so firstly, what we'd like to do is we'd like to send each of you that have joined us today the presentation, the session recording, so you can actually replay back and listen to some of the things that Usaf spoke about, as well as offering up some test scripts for you to actually run through. In addition to that, we're going to provide you with a feedback form. Now, for us, it's really important that our customers and non-Evosys customers get lots of value out of this webinar. So any feedback that you can provide us, good or bad, is really, really important for us to continually improve these sessions for you. Please do speak to your project manager or contact us directly at business@evosys.com if you want to talk about some of those additional services that I mentioned around quarterly updates. So particularly around the testing or looking at impact analysis together. Or even if you want to learn more about the next generation cloud managed service offering that we have. So one of the things that that we're doing as part of this is obviously we're doing a number of sessions focusing on key areas of the Oracle Cloud application. So as we draw this particular session to a close, a recording will soon be available. But please do pass on to colleagues or for yourselves the fact that we are running a session on HCM, a session on talent, a session on workforce management, supply chain management, and then 2 specific payroll webinars, one for the UK and one for our US customers. These particular sessions are available to register, so please visit our website, evosysglobal.com, where you can actually register for each of those sessions that you're interested in. Okay, so we wanted to leave a little bit of time towards the end, so I'm just going to have a look now to see if there are still any unanswered questions at SAV. So let me just go through some of these now. So one of the questions from one of our guests at SAV is, when does the 20D update go into effect?
Yes, I think it has been answered, but yeah, still I would like to answer this. So for each customer, it's going to be a different. So normally before the upgrade comes in, the person who is an administrator assigned from the Oracle side, they get the email notification saying that the 20D upgrade is scheduled for test on so and so date and on production on so and so date. Or if you want to know upfront from the Oracle side, you can raise a service request with the Oracle, and we can understand on which date it has been scheduled.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. So, there was another interesting question that was raised by one of our guests, and it's related to the GL and managing dependencies. Can dependencies be set based on roles?
Yeah. So so this particular feature, which is dependent value set, which is coming in, it's more for the organization which are heavy on a cross validation rules, and they have implemented a lot of cross validation rules, and the structure is very flat. But I can see it's the role 1 can use a specific combination, but role 2 can use that combination. I think for that it's not related to that, so people might have to continue the way the roles are being configured. But yes, if your structure is flat enough and you want to avoid people entering a wrong combination, then this is the feature which is coming in to avoid you on maintaining the cross validation rules.
Excellent. Thank you. Hopefully that answers the question. So we do have a question that's specific around doing a bit of a deep dive in the new functionality. Is that something that our guests should be looking to speak to the project manager? How can they best achieve that?
Yep. So yes, so I can see that question. So yes, so in order to know much related to your installation and your configuration, definitely you have to reach out to your Evosys project manager, and they would help you to deep dive into more detailing analysis specific to your configurations and the features which you are using it.
Okay. Just another question. Yeah. How can you review these updates independently?
Yep. So there is a document available from the Oracle. What all releases are coming in as a part of a 20D upgrade. So you can visit to that particular Oracle website and understand what all features are coming in a 20D upgrade. That is one way. Second way is you may raise a request you can raise a support request on the support portal, and they can help you to share that document too. But yes, that document, we call it as a release content document. The document is available on the site of the Oracle as well.
Excellent. I think that covers all of the questions. So thank you very much, Saban, and thank you everyone for attending. We're going to draw this session to a close now.
Thank you everyone for joining.